What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I've been working on my workshop here, and I've been behind on some of the work that I need to do. Gentleman brought in this guitar. I am not one that is a repairman, especially not for something like this. In fact, it's two guitars. This one is not in as bad a shape as the other one. Okay, well, that sucker broke. So I've got to try and see if I can fix it. Told me I can just cut the strings on it because it's got a crack right here. I don't know if I can fix it or not, or if it's going to hold, but I'm going to put some epoxy in it. Of course, the problem is how do I get enough pressure in here to hold this sucker? And this is where sometimes you got to think a little bit outside of the box. So what I came up with, so I can try and put pressure on there to see if it'll work, and I can't guarantee that it's going to work. But basically, I cut out two pieces of wood that I can put on each side of it and put two bar clamps on it and see if it's going to work. So I don't know if this is going to work or not. He's got another one that's got even more cracks in it. I'm not sure that either of them will hold, but I'm going to try it. So I have been, as you know, working on the workshop here and trying to get it in better shape for the Inventables and to also make it more functional to work with. And so far, I think I've done actually a really good job of it. When Inventables came back and said, we got a problem, the X-Carve that I wanted was missing parts. They didn't have all the parts that they needed to go ahead and finish putting those together, so they wouldn't be able to send it out last week like they were supposed to. They said it would end up being the end of February before they get the parts. And now, if you've seen what's happened, of course, at the ports where we haven't been able to get goods off the trucks, and now this weekend there's the COVID vaccination rules that are coming in. So anything that goes across the border truck-wise, you have to be vaccinated. And they said they could lose about 30 to 40% of the truckers out there where they were already short, which means supply chains, one, the price is going to go up, two, it's going to be more delays in getting goods. So I had said, hope that the supplies come in by the end of February, or what are my other options? And they said, well, here's what we can do. So we can send you the X-Carve Pro 4x4 and no additional charge, which is great because it's a bigger machine. It's quicker. It's got more capabilities on it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But in the same sense, I'm scared to death because, I don't have the space for it, I didn't think. And so I had to rework the workshop from where it's been for the last 15 years to accommodate a piece that needs a bed, basically 6x6. And still have enough room to be able to build stuff. And so I've been working on this, and I tell you what, my workshop right now is in better shape. I've got more space to do stuff than I've ever had. And it's actually working better. I ended up reorientating the dust collection pipes to make them more efficient so they suck up better. I consolidated everything that's over here into one big work area. and I built the table for the Inventables right there. Clear off it. Get some thing right here. Clean off the excess glue. And then we put one more clamp on and see if it'll. One more clamp on here, so that way I can put a little wedge to hold the two sides down. I'm not sure that this is going to work. Not sure that this is going to work or not, but we're going to let it clamp up for this, and we'll find out if it's going to work or not. But let me show you what we've done. So as you can see, I increased, this is almost comical to me, because my wife came out here, she's like, how is it there feels like there's a lot more space? So, well, I rearranged some things. So one of the things I did was I ended up trying to incorporate my joiner tight here, so that way I've got 9 feet each way that I can actually join a board. And most of the machine is actually up underneath this table here. So before I had space between it and here, that was just useless. So I extended that so it meets up right here. I can still get to the controls right here, and if I need to go ahead and do it at different angles, I can slide it out and do that. Still have plenty of space. But most of the machine is up underneath of it. I brought this out further to meet the end of it, because usually you kind of have to walk around it. So it was space that wasn't really usable there. So I brought it out this way even further and carried it over this way. So now I've got a nice big surface to go ahead and do things like this. I can clamp this up on here. But it serves an even greater purpose because of course, the table saw is over here. Now let's go over to the other side. Let me show you a little more. Okay, so from this side, you can see this is the back of the Inventables. The Inventables needs like 10 inches of space beyond what the machine's footprint is. which is great though. It's okay because the overhang here is just overhanging over the table saw. So that means I actually need a smaller footprint space-wise, because what they actually recommended is having a 6 foot by 6 foot table to accommodate this. Well, in essence, I actually have I think 58-inch table here, but it's incorporated with the table saw. Another nice thing is now, unfortunately, one of the switches, little teeny baby switch right here, limit switch, is actually damaged between being made and getting to my house. So they're overnighting me that, so I can't do all the setup until after I get that piece. But one of the things I wanted to make sure I did was, since this thing can tile, meaning that it has a 4x4 cutting surface, you can still have it set up for cutting a full 8x8 sheet, and it's just a matter of sliding it in. So by using this table saw, I ended up building this table 4 inches lower than what this base is. So that way, I'm going to fine tune it once we set this up, but it'll be a seamless push in here. So when I come in, I can just come in. If I have a full sheet of plywood, I can flip it over on the table, slide it right in. I'll need to take, of course, the rip pins off and drop the blade, but then I can slide it in. So that way, I really actually have about a 11-foot section, you could say, work area. This can go through, cut its stuff and things and do its deal. I'm going to have to play with this a little bit because I put a dust port right here for it, but it has an arm that kind of swings with it with that hose. Something I've learned, and I don't understand why, but it's a 3 horsepower dust collector. The bigger the opening, the more suction you get. When you start getting into the 2-inch hoses, there's not a lot of suction on it. And when you get down to like this 1.5 inches that's on here, the suction isn't as strong as it would be if it was a full 4 inches. My brother explained it to me one time, the difference between it, and he's a heating air conditioning guy. I still don't understand it, but I'm going to probably take this hose and modify it so it's cut here and expand it to a bigger hose, so that way you'll get more suction on it. I'm debating on if I should use a 4-inch hose and then put an adapter on there so that way it's close as possible to get more suction, but we'll figure that out later. But again, I'm still doing some stuff in here. You can see, even though I have all these shelves over here, this is my painting area. Unfortunately, I don't have space for a separate painting room. So this actually takes up the back part of the shop. But we still have all of this space that's still right here that I could actually assemble stuff, as well as on the other side of the table saw. A couple other things that we've done. And let me get you down a little lower here so you can see. Okay, so a couple of things. We ended up having our thickness planer because we don't have a lot of space in the shop. I mean, ideally, if I had a 40 by 20 workshop, I would set it up so that way there's a workflow. You'd have the lumber racks when you first come in, and then you'd have the table saw and all of this stuff in the middle, and then you'd have your area to go ahead and assemble, and then you'd have a paint room in the back. And one day I will have that. In the meantime, I have a small shop, and I have to maximize what I do. So what I've done is, this is actually a 3 horsepower 15-inch thickness planer. It's a Delta. Delta is not in business anymore. I don't understand why, but this is one of their industrial ones, and I've had it for about 17 years. This sucker will go through wood. I don't care what kind of wood it is. The reason I originally bought it was my wife wanted to have hickory kitchen cabinets, and doing that, the hickory killed my, I had a 12-inch one. It killed it. It literally killed it. So this is here. Again, it's not ideal because it's real low, but I can still put 8-foot long boards. And if you have 2 people, you can feed, one person can feed here if you're doing a stack, and they can set it right up here on the table saw on that work surface, and you can keep an assembly line. It's more of a pain in the ass if you're just doing one board and you're by yourself because you're feeding it in, then you got to walk all the way around, get it, and then come back. But if you have 2 people and a lot of wood, it actually goes really, really quick because you got plenty of surface area that you set the boards up on, and it's just like an assembly line. So that is actually fantastic for what we do here. Also, originally, like I said, I thought I was getting the 2x4 unit. I'm happy that I've actually got the 4x4. So I had already built my table for it to go on with the same design, just basically it was shorter by about 18 inches. So what we ended up doing, it ends up being, sometimes things work out for the better. This is the original cabinet that I had built over here for the Inventables, and I had built a shorter tabletop that would have given me actually a lot of space here in the workshop. I'm not mad at it though, because it ended up being a lifesaver, because I built this cabinet that goes all the way across. So it's almost 6 feet long, and I can put, you know, extra lumber in here. Here I've got some pieces of, this is like a door from a house from the 1800s, 1830s, right here. And this is antique heart pine, and these were probably hand planed. And even some of the wood right here, this was actually part of the door jamb, if you can believe it or not. This piece of oak right here, the termites had gotten it, so I had to rebuild the opening for them. So I've got extra storage space. I will put another divider in here to protect this, because this is the CPU for the system. I'll also go through and I'll get the wires tied up in here once we finish testing the whole unit out. But this actually fits in here. I'm also going to mount an outlet here to plug it in, so that way it's easy access. So from the standpoint of actually having a lot of equipment in a small area, basically I've got a 10 by 6 area that's basically houses a table saw, an outfeed table, assembly table, a 4x4 Inventables CNC machine, and a joiner. So you've kind of maximized everything that you can imagine here in this one spot. I'll be honest with you, this is perfect, because I can rip a 4x8 sheet, I can cross cut a 4x8 sheet of plywood, I can plane 8.5 foot long boards, I can join 9 foot long boards, all in a 20 by 20 workshop. Okay, so wait, let me show you on the other side here a little more. Okay, so we're still a little bit dusty and messy here. I'm still actually cleaning some stuff out. I'm going to the dump here in a little bit, because I've got a lot of old stuff that I don't really need, don't really use, and it's time to get rid of that stuff. So you can see here, this is the Inventables. This whole cutter head right here, this moves back and forth, side to side, up and down, and it will do its thing. It's going to be great. And this stand that I built is actually, but here I've got a drawer where I can keep all the stuff, all the hold down clamps, the wrenches, everything, my blades for the Inventables right here. And then I've got cabinet space that I didn't have before. Looking down here a little further, we have our thickness sander. Now, this is the only problem that I have, because the thickness sander used to be right here, and it's, as you can see, it's wide. This edge sander used to be right here on the end. The thing about this is, having against the wall and putting it here actually gives me enough room that I can go past the machine. It's not ideal. It'd be nice to have more footage there, but you know, you got to make things work. The only drawback is, and this is where this actually works good, is you can use the whole 25 inches because it will go underneath of the table right here. So this is maximizing that space. The only bad thing is if I'm doing long stock, it's not going to work real well, because let me see exactly how far I have here to work with. The outfeed table, I only have 4.5 feet. So if I'm doing a big piece that needs to be sanded, I'm going to probably have to get wheels for this, so that way I can move it around, or just not do big pieces like that. The nice thing though is, and this is where I have to get used to this, is the Inventables will do a lot of the things that you normally would use the planer or the thickness sander and stuff for. For example, once we end up getting our switch here and putting the tables, it actually has a planing bit. It's actually going to go through and it's going to surface all this to be exacting. And if you watch on Inventables website, you'll see them glue up a real big tabletop, and they plane it using the Inventables. So a lot of things that I do now and equipment that I use may just start collecting dust. But again, we still have space to walk around through here. Let's go on the other side and let me show you the rest. Okay, so we're on the other side of the Inventables. Again, that's going to be able to swing right past the dust collection hose. I got to tie up. These are power drops that I have for the table saw and things. I'll need to strap those on. What we've done here is we've actually made a little table here. This is actually the interface on and off switch for it. More than likely, I'll end up using the computer sitting up here on the tabletop. But a couple of things that we've done to help ourselves out. I'm messy. I'm real messy. Here, of course, is where you've got space to get everything out of the table saw. But I've actually made a rack to hold rosin paper. So if I'm staining or gluing something up, I can pull rosin paper over top of it. You see, I actually used some scrap pieces of carpet padding as padding for projects to make sure you don't mess them up. So here you can see I've got a rack down here. Let's turn it down here. This cabinet's now a rack. These are all extra pieces that I have that I can use for making cutting boards out of, so I can keep that stuff stored in here. So now what I've gotten is, one, I've got the rosin paper rolls there so I can keep this section clean. Two, I've got more storage to put more lumber and get a little bit better organized. Three, I've got a bigger assembly table here. And four, I actually have a good bit of space to walk around. So for the most part, this has all worked out well. I need to clean up, of course, and get rid of some of the stuff that's in here that's just old. And I do have a lot of tools that I have duplicates of. And I have rental properties that are down the country. What I'll probably do is take like 2 drills and like the circular saw and things like that, and just have me a toolbox down there to free up some of the space in here. A couple other things that we have in this workshop, of course, is over there. That is actually a 3 horsepower router table that I have, which is really good. A drill press that I don't use very often. Radial arm saw is also over there. And again, radial arm saw with this thing might not be used as much as it used to. And then over here on this wall, let me move you on over a little bit more. I have the 3 horsepower shaper that I usually use to make all my cabinet doors or pieces of molding that, again, that machine might be making it. And my 2 horsepower bandsaw that usually I cut out all my curved pieces and stuff. So the capabilities now in my workshop have increased, and the things I can do will be pretty cool. So for example, here's one of my cutting boards. This one is cherry, walnut, mahogany, maple, put together. Things I can do with the Inventables would be if I had a person who said, I want a cowboy star on it. I can go ahead and have this thing engrave the cowboy star, say 1/4 inch thick, pour in colored epoxy, sand it out, and boom, with any logo you can imagine. So that's one of those things that'll be kind of cool. Or if you wanted to have the wedding sign, so you have, you know, commemorating the date and their initials, and let's say you've got a picture of the 2 of you, we'd be able to engrave that in there as well. And just anything that your imagination can do, this piece of equipment will do. And for me, I'm a little scared because I'm not great with computers to work with this, but I'm excited as hell about the capabilities of it. And I've spent the last, say, 2 weeks rebuilding this. Now, the crazy thing about me, besides me just being plain crazy, is when I redesigned this, there were no drawings. There was nothing that was in here. Anybody came in and said, do this, do this, do this. The thing is, in my mind, I can see what I want to be the outcome. And this always sounds crazy or creepy or whatever you want to call it. But I can see and I know exactly what I want. And I build from there. Probably it would have been better if I had taken the computer and, you know, took the measurements of the workshop and got the measurements of all the machines and things and said, boom, 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 and just play around and fit them. But to me, that was too much work. In my mind, I could see how it could work. And that's exactly what I did. Tried to do it exactly as I saw it in my mind. So that's what we got, guys. Hope you like it. I think it's going to work out good. Like I said, I still have some more cleaning up and straightening to do. I've already started getting the different racks so I can hang up all my drills and things on the walls, and stuff because I've had old tools that are antiquated that have been there, and it's better for me to go ahead and get these things organized with the tools that I really use. Oh, the other thing too I did with the outfeed table is this also too. I've got to make the face frame for it, but it's a drawer that I can keep more supplies in that I'll use here, and I can keep my tools right down there that I use on the regular. So if you have any questions about any of the equipment that I used in here, any questions about woodworking or how to redesign your workshop or anything like that, leave it, leave a comment down there and make sure you hit the thumbs up. In the very near future, once we get the parts, hopefully we get it early enough tomorrow that I can call customer service before they close for the weekend. If you have any questions about this, just leave it leave a comment down there, and I'll be sure to answer it, and maybe even do a video about it. In the future, what we'll be doing is we'll actually be doing some live streams with this bad boy in action, which I can't wait to show you guys the capabilities. So I hope you're having a great day.